Hello and welcome back to the Three-Handed Bandits channel. It's Nathan and Aiden back with another video for you today. Today we're going to be breaking down, giving you our picks and some of our betting advice heading into this week 6 of NFL football. We do have a couple interesting matchups this week to talk about. Aiden, what are you feeling headed into this week?
Not gonna lie, this week, maybe it's just how I'm feeling, but not a lot of upsets is what I'm seeing on my sheet.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of an interesting week for me. I still think there is some value to be had for those gamblers out there. And we'll just go ahead and hop right into it. And we're going to be starting off with the Ravens versus the Tennessee Titans. This is a game, at least personally for me, I've been kind of back and forth on. Uh, Even right now, I literally haven't even written down who I'm going to pick. I don't know fully what version of each of these teams are going to get. To me, I think I'm gonna go with the Ravens to win. I'm gonna go with a score of 23-20. To me, this Ravens defense hasn't necessarily been good enough for me to be too worried about the Titans offense struggling. I do think we'll have a much better offensive performance from the Ravens in this game. If they did come out and absolutely blew the Titans out of the water, I would not be surprised. But even then, I do think Lamar Jackson has played well. But if he had a couple turnovers or made some mistakes, and the Titans ended up finding a way to squeak this game out, that also would not be surprising to me. This is definitely one of the games though that I would stay away from when it comes to betting, at least. But yeah, I'm going. I already forgot what I said. I say 23-20, something along those lines. Anyways, Titans cover and Ravens win is what I'm going.
So I agree with the Ravens winning. I have them basically covering the spread as well. Not a high scoring game for me at 20-13. I think that in my mind, like how drastic it was they dropped last week, if they just fixed that one mistake, that game would have been completely different. It would have been at least two more scores on Ravens' part, in my opinion. And the Titans just did not look good against the Colts. And then Gardner Minshew was in for most of the game, and he has been doing good. But in my opinion, I think Lamar and that offense is better than Gardner Minshew is right now for the Colts. So yeah, give me the Ravens. Them covering 20-13. I don't want to look at this game anymore.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard one. It's definitely not a fun game to start off betting wise. And the next step, we're gonna be talking about the Washington Commanders as they travel to Atlanta to go against the Falcons. Another game that I just don't fully know how it's gonna go. To me, from what I've seen, is Atlanta is kind of in this true kind of weird sort of middle tier, where if you're a team that is worse than Atlanta, they could very easily handle business and beat you. However, if you're a team better than Atlanta, they're probably not going to have a chance to win and go against you. And so, with that being said, I do think Atlanta is going to find a way to squeak this one out. However, I have a score of it being 22-21. I do think we could have a decent offensive performance from Sam Howell to kind of keep them in this game and keep them close. But this Washington defense to me still has not been that good. I do think Desmond Ridder could have a pretty decent game. I do think Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, Drake London, Bijan will still all be able to have decent games and produce at decent levels, and at least enough for them to squeak out a win at home.
I completely agree with the Falcons. I have them at winning 25-21. I do think that the Commanders offensively could shape around and do decent, but the Falcons played, in my opinion, as of right now, the better defense last week. The Commanders, like you said, it's been weird watching them. They're supposed to be this defensive team, and they're not really showing their prowess. So, I feel the exact same way. This game could be weird. I can see the Commanders winning, but in my mind, like the first thing I thought of was if the Falcons keep rolling what they did last week against a better defense. So I have them winning, covering a closer game than most people should think at 25-21.
Yeah, I definitely think that there definitely is upset potential, as Sam Howell has played pretty well throughout spurts, but it's just I don't know if I trust this defense to make the stops. I think that's how we're both feeling this game. And the next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to go against the Chicago Bears. This is a really weird game because the last 2 weeks we've had really good performances from Justin Fields, and the Vikings are going to be out Justin Jefferson. So it's just who knows what either of these teams are fully going to look like. What are you expecting from this game?
A disgusting game. In my opinion, I think the Vikings find a way to lose. I'm not gonna lie to you. I, for some reason in my mind, the Bears have been rolling. They've been doing pretty well, and the Vikings have a pretty weak defense. So, I'm just gonna stick with it. I have the Bears obviously winning and covering a very close game at 28-27. I do think the Vikings can still produce without Justin Jefferson. They'll find a way, but like they always do, Vikings are going to Viking, and they're going to lose this game.
So for me, I actually am going for the Vikings to win. Obviously, Justin Fields has had 2 really good weeks back to back now. However, it's been against the Broncos and the Commanders, which is 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Well, the Vikings don't have a great defense. It's not like a true bottom 3, 4, 5 defense. It's not very good, but it's not horrible. And I think they're going to do a much better job of getting after the quarterback, getting after Justin Fields, bringing blitzes, pressures, and really making Justin Fields play just a little bit quicker than he's kind of been having to play thus far. And so I actually feel like we could have a pretty good game. I also think it could be pretty high scoring. But if it was a low scoring, a bunch of mistakes, that wouldn't surprise me either. I'm going as of right now 24-21. I'm going to have that be a push. If I did have to bet on the spread either way, I would probably go with Minnesota to maybe just score a touchdown late to pull away. But I do think that Vegas has this one spot on with that 3-point spread. And so I do think even without Justin Jefferson, the Vikings are still going to be in store for a good offensive day and win this game. And then next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Cincinnati to go against the Bengals. The Bengals have been your team for a little bit since they got Joe Burrow. How are you feeling about them this week against Seattle?
In all honesty, they need to build off of what they did last week. That's they have to win. Right now, they're in a mentality that they need to win the games. No matter the cost. It could be an ugly score. They just got to win and build that momentum back from what they had last year. But I am afraid of the Seahawks and the potential on their offensive side. So I have them covering, but it's still the Bengals to win. You know what I mean? I can't go against them. I probably won't ever will. I'll probably always find a way to make them win. But I have the score 24-23. Very close game. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat mostly. It's going to be, in my mind, it's the Bengals are going to be down, and they're going to come back, and I'm going to drop to my knees and say, thank you. But basically, that's how I'm feeling with this game. I'm kind of scared. I mean, the Seahawks have been this up and down. I really want a good, solid offensive game from both sides, but the Bengals to pull it off, obviously.
See, I do think this is going to be a good offensive game. This is just another one of these weird games this week where it's what version of the Bengals are we getting? Now, the last time we saw Seattle, their defense was absolutely stellar, but that was against the New York Giants, who've been miserable. So, I don't think we're going to get some crazy version of the Seattle defense, but I still do think they're going to do a decent job of getting after Joe Burrow. And Joe still kind of has to prove that he's back to his elite form and not what we saw through the first kind of 4-ish weeks of the season. And so I'm still not fully sure if – I'll say right now I'm picking Seattle. I do think Seattle will at least cover that spread at 3. I think it would be a close game, but I'm also going to pick Seattle to win. It's just I think with Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon, who's been balling out, I do think they'll be at least able to slow down Jamar Chase. So that way you'll have 8 catches for 150 yards and 1 touchdown instead of 15 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. is kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I think defensively they at least have enough playmakers to slow down Jamar Chase a little bit. I think they'll be able to get after Joe Burrow, and then give this offense 2 full weeks to kind of prepare for this game. I think they're going to come out. They're going to be creative. Geno Smith is going to look really explosive. I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett could both be in store for some really huge games. And I don't think Jackson Smith and Jigba has scored a touchdown yet either this season. So I think they're really going to want to try to get him involved in this week. So I'm going to call it now. Jackson Smith and Jigba, first touchdown score. Lock that one in. But now we'll go ahead into the next game, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Cleveland Browns. This originally opened as around a 5-point spread, but then Deshaun Watson was ruled out. Now it's climbed to a 10-point spread, or 9.5 on ESPN. I'm going San Francisco in a game that I don't think is going to be very competitive. The Browns did bring in P.J. Walker to start in replace of Dorian Thompson-Robinson because he was so bad when he played 2 weeks ago. And so I think P.J. Walker will do enough to at least score them 13 whole points. But I have San Francisco scoring 31 and just completely rolling yet again. I was worried that they might struggle against Dallas, and they dropped 40 points. So I just don't know if I see this team losing anytime soon.
I completely agree. I wanted to keep the ball rolling with them scoring more than 30 points every week. So I have them winning 32-10. And there's no really kink in the 49ers. I mean, if anything, it might be like a slightly weaker offensive line. And that's the only thing I'm scared about. And with the Browns defensive line, that's the only thing that I can see happening is those two really getting after it and it being kind of a scarier game for Brock Purdy. But like offensively, I don't trust PJ Walker, bro. He sucked. Yes, he's better than Dorian, but he sucked too. Like,
yeah.
Oh no, like built the straw house. Oh, now we're building the stick house. That's basically how it is right now. They're both getting blown away by this big bad wolf of a team in the 49ers.
Yeah, the Browns definitely have a defense that could somewhat slow down the 49ers offense, but I feel like this Browns offense is going to look absolutely horrible, and there's only so much you can do on the defensive side when it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and bad field position. So I just think they're going to be not able to keep going against this onslaught that's going to come from the 49ers. And the next up, we got Carolina traveling to Miami. 14-point spread. I think that's pretty accurate. We have the Panthers ranked as our worst team in our power rankings, and I don't think they're going to do anything this week to disprove that ranking. I have it being 36-20. This Carolina defense really started off the year pretty well, but then they started having some injuries. Brian Burns and Derek Brown are questionable for this game. Then they're also going to be out both safeties, Von Bell and Xavier Woods. And I think they're J.C. Horn's on IR. So it's just this defense is starting to lose pieces. So I see not a single reason why they're going to be able to slow down this Miami offense. And then on the offensive side for the Panthers, Bryce Young had his best game, last week, I think. But even then, I just don't think they're going to be able to do much. I think it's going to be very similar to how it was last week, where they're going to be pushing the ball a lot more and trying to come back into this game, but it's going to be a blowout score where maybe there'll be a garbage time backdoor cover, but I'm not expecting this to be a competitive game.
Same here. I have a very, very similar score to you. You said 36-20. I say 35-20. And the Dolphins offense is just too great for this poorly Swiss cheese of a defense. Like you said, I mean, it happened last week. I think that it's going to be like they're going to have 13 points just sitting there with it for almost the entire game. They get the garbage time 2-minute drill at the end, and Miami's going to be lounging. They're just going to let them score, basically. It's just going to be something like that. They're still like Miami's still going to cover. There's no doubt about that. But Dolphins all the way.
Yeah. And the next game is a game that hopefully will be a little bit more interesting to talk about. Indianapolis Colts traveling to Jacksonville. It's a 4-point spread, and I actually have Indianapolis winning. And I'm going to lock Indianapolis as the winner.
Dang it!
We're going to do the same thing.
I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, for me, not only I do think this is a little bit of a trap game for Jacksonville. Obviously, they spent the last 2 weeks in London, so they're going to have to get used to that time change again. But also, you see this a lot when sometimes these teams have these, really big upsets or big games. A lot of times next week they'll come out flat. So Miami obviously dropped 70 against the Broncos. The next week really dropped the ball against the Buffalo Bills. And then the Buffalo Bills, after beating the Dolphins, came in and lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So now I think the Jaguars are going to continue that streak and lose to the Colts. It's going to be a tough divisional game. It's going to be a Gardner Minshew revenge game. But to me, this Jaguars defense is not good enough to really slow down Gardner Minshew. I think Shane Steichen's done a really good job. And the Jaguars really rely a lot on zone coverage. And Gardner Minshew is a smart quarterback who can pick that apart. When there's all these tight window throws and, man coverage he has to beat, that's where you see Gardner Minshew struggles because he is a little bit physically limited. However, in a game where he's going to be able to just sit back, read what the defense is doing, and find the quick man, especially with Shane Steichen play calling, I think Jacksonville is not really going to be able to win this game. I do think it'll be a somewhat closer one. I have 27-26 being the final score.
I feel the exact same way. I hate that we're doing a double lock, but screw it. I completely agree with the Jacksonville. I have no faith in them at all. Other than last week, I mean, even if you take out the fourth quarter of last week, they score 11 points, and they're supposed to be at home, right? London. They're there for like a week. That was an abysmal game to watch. If it wasn't for that fourth quarter, it wouldn't have been interesting at all. I do like the Colts are doing, even with Gardner Minshew. He's doing solid. He's getting he's throwing to the open receiver. He's doing his job. He's putting points on the board when needed, and the Colts find a way to do make magic on defense, especially DeForest Buckner. He's been amazing. I don't, like I said, Colts winning, so they can have a spread, but I have a lower scoring game. I don't have faith in the Jaguars, but I don't want to put too much faith in the Colts for them to pull away. So I have 18-17.
Okay. And then next up, we have the New Orleans Saints traveling to Houston to go against the Texans in the Battle of the Gulf of Mexico, we'll call it. As a Saints fan, what are you expecting from your team this week?
The exact same thing as last week. Please, please, please. That's all I can ask for. Mostly, I would love this to be the story arc. First interception in CJ Stroud's career. First 2 interceptions in CJ Stroud's career being caught by New Orleans Saints. Oh, that would be so nice. It would end this. Oh my gosh, CJ Stroud. I mean, no doubt, he's awesome. He's doing great. But I think the Saints defense can bring them down to earth a little bit. Not saying that I won't score points, because I do have the Saints winning and covering at 28-24. I do think that Derek Carr looks better. I just think if they keep the ball rolling and he's progressionally getting better, he can do this. The only thing that I'm scared about is that the Texans defense has been like gritty, basically. They've been very, very solid. They're young. They make mistakes, yes, but like they bounce back in very fascinating ways. They can surprise a lot of people, and that's the only thing I'm scared about. I mean, yes, the Patriots, in my mind, I thought they had a good defense, but like the Saints exploited that. So the Saints could do that again, but as of right now, I think that it's going to be a closer game with the Saints still covering at 28-24. Give me my dogs, basically. I can't go away from them. I would still be happy if the Texans win, but still, Saints all the way.
Yeah, I do think that this 2-point spread, I think Vegas is indicating that they also don't fully believe that last week against the Patriots, I think they believe that was somewhat of a fluke. However, the Saints defense has been playing pretty well. I don't think it's one of these like tier 1, like elite defenses. It's still been a solid, good group, but I do think they're going to not quite be as great as they were last week where they had a shutout. CJ Stroud has been playing really well, and I think that's going to continue. However, I do think this Houston offense might struggle just a little bit because it seems like they're going to be out Tank Dell and Robert Woods. So their only wide receiver is going to be Nico Collins, who has played really well. However, going against Marshawn Lattimore, this big physical press man corner, who's always usually gotten the best out of Mike Evans. I think it's going to be a fun matchup to watch, and that's definitely a matchup I would avoid for fantasy football. But I do think Houston is good enough to at least compete with the Saints. But I do think the Saints are going to win. But I'm going 24-23. I do think that that 2-point spread is pretty accurate. I do think these teams are just a little bit closer, and it being a home game for Houston, I think is going to bode well. But what version of Derek Carr are we getting, I think is really going to determine how this game goes. And the next up, we got New England Patriots going against the Las Vegas Raiders. Dude, what? This is such a gross game. I'm not going to be watching this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, gross, sloppy game. I have Vegas winning, I guess. I do think there's definitely a world where New England turns things around and win this like 30-0, like a complete blowout. But recently, the last 2 weeks, they've looked so poor, and like half their team is either out or questionable. So who really knows? I don't think Vegas is good enough to blow anybody out. And so I'm going for a score of 18-16 on a low scoring, gross, sloppy game. It's just, I'm not excited for this one. I'm not betting this one. I'm not watching this one. This is just a complete avoid this game at all costs for me.
I completely agree. I think, in all honesty, this might be the battle of what offense can get off the field faster. Basically, I have the score at 17-13, even lower than yours. I have the exact same score as last week for the Raiders. The Raiders won, but it was still a disgusting game to watch. And the Patriots have not shown anything. Everyone's hurt. It's why bet on a team that has had their two worst games in history back to back? I think they won't be as bad because, in my opinion, oh no, this is what I'm calling it now. I'm gonna lock this in. Screw this. The one touchdown the Patriots get will not be thrown by Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi's going to come in and be like, oh my God, is he him? And then absolutely not play like good the rest of the game. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to be something weird like that. They're like, oh, Mac Jones, you're doing nothing. We've only gotten a field goal out of you. And we put Bailey Zappi in. They score. Like, oh my gosh, they can get back in this. They just made it a 3-point game. I'm like, no.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. That's like, in my mind, I could see that happening. That story arc of Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi being the exact same guy in my mind. So I don't want to watch this game. If for some reason the other 3 o'clock games all get destroyed and never play again, I think I might watch a different sport.
I watch WNBA at that point. And next up we got the Arizona Cardinals traveling to the LA Rams. It's a 7-point spread for LA, which I'm not sure if that's too high or not, in my opinion. I think the Cardinals are kind of just starting to lose steam. At first, they were able to really come in with a lot of energy, but a lot of times when this stuff kind of starts happening, you kind of start losing momentum and that kind of faith and belief and that willingness to really go out there and just give it your all as you lose a lot of games. And so I think LA should win this game. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Stafford's been balling. I do think offensively the Rams will have a decent showing. And I do think, Arizona could even in their own right have a good game. And so I do think Arizona will cover. I'm going to go with a score of 23-17. I think it is going to be a fairly close game for most of it, maybe like a 20-17-ish type of game. And then the Rams, kick a field goal late. But I think it's going to be like a low scoring game, but I do think it will be a pretty good matchup. I do think the Rams should be able to win this, and I'd be surprised if they did end up losing, but there's definitely a possibility for that.
I completely agree. I have Rams winning, but Arizona covering. With this game, I think it might be a little bit of a bounce back for Joshua Dobbs. He kind of like fell apart against the Bengals in the late part of the game. I think he was just trying to do too much when he was down. I think if they go back to what they do best, they can possibly even win this game. But as of right now, with adding Cooper Kupp to that already crazy passing offense, it's going to be hard to stop. I mean, obviously they were exploited last week. The Cardinals were with one receiver in particular, but the Rams have three guys that could do that. Really two, and then the possibility of a nice Tutu Atwell game could happen as well. I have
Yeah.
27-24. I want the game to be a little high scoring only because the Raiders game is going to suck so much. I want something more interesting on another game. So
Yeah, for sure. And then next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the New York Jets. It is a 6.5 point spread. And honestly, I do think Philly's just going to win this. And I think it'll actually be somewhat convincing. I have it being 25-14. The first couple of weeks, I think Philly was still kind of figuring out, new coaches on both sides of the ball, new play caller. I think they were kind of still figuring some stuff out. And I do think they're starting to, really get that offensive, side in the play calling figured out. Still so much talent on this roster. I do think the Eagles will be without Jalen Carter, which will hurt a little bit. Um, I do think that they're still going to have a much better game defensively for the Eagles, even though Zach Wilson has been playing pretty solid thus far. But I don't necessarily expect like a huge Brees Hall game or anything like that. And I do think Zach Wilson could be due for a mistake or two. And even though that this is a better Jets defense, I still just think Philly's is going to keep coming, keep coming, and keep coming. And I do think that they're going to be able to win this game. However, you do have a good Jets defense and Zach Wilson playing better. There could be an upset here, but I'm not betting it. I don't believe it's going to happen. I would be, pretty surprised if that did happen. There is a little, chance it happens, but I'm putting my money on the Eagles and to cover it outright.
what the Eagles do best is what you said. They run the ball at an absurd amount of times when they are in control. Like usually some teams like show their prowess by making these great grandiose passing plays. No, the Eagles are different. They will like basically shove it down your throat in this run game, just 3 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards, five. Like basically that is their whole identity when it comes to a game that they know they're in control because they know they can be on the field for 20 minutes, that an entire quarter. We're just running the ball. And if the
20 minutes
Jets,
the entire quarter.
exactly, I could see it, but the Jets need to be able to stop that. If they can stop that, they are somewhat in this game. I mean, obviously, the Eagles do have a great passing game when it's used, but right now, the past couple weeks, it's only been really A.J. Brown and the occasional Dallas Goedert. They haven't really introduced Devontae Smith in the picture yet. If he's added, this might be a different game. I do have the Jets covering, though, only because I'm getting a little bit more faith in Zach Wilson. He's looking a little better. I mean, he's going against a tough defense, but still, I only have it because it's a lower scoring game, in my opinion. I have 21-17. More just the backdoor cover for the Jets to where they try to pick up steam and try to come back. But in the end, the ball ends up with the Eagles and they're running the clock out. That's all I can see happening.
Yeah. And the next up, we got the Lions versus the Buccaneers. That is a 3-point spread, which to me seems really low. What are you feeling in this game?
I don't know. Man, I like the Lions. Like I'm gonna keep rolling with them, even if I don't feel good about it. I'm gonna keep going. I can't say no to Dan Campbell. He's a very handsome man. Um, that's not the reason that I like him so much, but I'm gonna add that. I have the Tampa Bay covering though. They have had a whole week to rest. The Lions are a little banged up, but I still like them offensively wise. I think Jared Goff's a smart quarterback. For some reason, I don't know what I was smoking, but I have the score at 26-24. Kind of solid. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense does pretty well. The Lions keep doing what they do best. So even though the Tampa Bay has a stronger defense, I think the Lions can still put up good points.
Yeah, to me, this 3-point spread feels pretty low, and I'd actually be really comfortable betting that. I definitely would expect this to be at least like a 5-6 point spread. You know what I mean? Just, I feel like I don't necessarily think the Buccaneers match up great against this team. Granted, I feel like the Lions are out a couple pieces, and Laporta, Jameer Gibbs, um, Josh Pascal on that defensive line is out. No Brian Branch. Like, there's definitely a way where Tampa does have a lot of talent and they could compete, but offensively, I haven't been crazy blown away by this team. And the Buccaneers defense to me, I think is, solid, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to stop this Lions offense that has been, really good the last couple of weeks and really kind of starting to figure some stuff out. I do think David Montgomery could be in store for a decent game, maybe not the highest yardage, but at least for fantasy, I think he could have a pretty good day. So I think it's gonna be 27-17. I definitely, to me, this 3-point spread to me indicates that Tampa, we've been a little bit higher on Tampa, coming into this year. And so I do think that Vegas is either believing in Tampa or is not fully sold on Detroit. I don't know which one that is. But yeah, to me, just I feel like it seems a little low. That's actually going to be, I'll call it a lock. I'll go Detroit -3 would be a lock for me. And then the Sunday night game, let's just take 2 seconds to talk about this. Everyone on the Giants is injured. This offense sucks. The defense isn't great either. Tyrod Taylor is a starting quarterback for the Giants. 15-point spread on Sunday Night Football is absolutely ridiculous. The fact this game wasn't flexed is so silly to me. But I have the score being 30-0. Not going to be a fun game. I don't even know if I'm going to want to watch it. It's what's your score prediction?
32-3.
32. Okay, perfect. We're done with that game. Next.
Wait. I just want to say one thing. Who gave the Giants all of these primetime games?
Yeah.
This is awful to watch. I'm done.
Out of all the New York teams, you could at least give them the Jets or Buffalo. Regardless.
Yeah, sorry. I had to say that. I couldn't keep that in.
No, you're good. Okay, we're done with this game. Monday Night Football at least should be a more entertaining primetime game, I hope. And I'm actually going to go with the Chargers to win this at home on the upset. Both these teams have some poor to bad head coaches. And I'm just going with the fact that I think Kellen Moore, who is in Dallas, is going to know how to kind of go against this Dan Quinn defense. I think he's an actual good offensive play caller and offensive mind compared to Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer, who are running an offense from 2008. And so I do think that I think it's going to come down to they're going to have a better offense. Justin Herbert has played really well this year. He's a much better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott hasn't looked great. At the top of my head, I don't think there's any like crazy injuries that would kind of switch
Eckler's back
anything
too.
for me. Even if he's not back, I don't think that would, change a whole lot. You know what I mean? I think the Chargers have a better offense. And so I do think that offense is going to trump defense in this game. But I could see this game going either way. It's a 1.5-point spread. Vegas thinks it's a close game too. But I am going to go with the Chargers to win 31-26 at home on Monday night.
I have a little bit lower scoring compared to you. I do have the Chargers. I'm even going to put it as a lock. I hate Mike McCarthy so much. Maybe my second lock in the Chargers. I mean, Chargers coaching's pretty bad, but it's not bad as Mike McCarthy. When you have the top 3 lineup cards in the game and you're doing this bad, you need to be fired. Jerry Jones needs to wake up from his recliner and fire this man right now. It infuriates me the amount of crap this guy tries to pull. I'm not a Dallas fan, but if you are a Dallas fan, you should be asking for his head, like the Pittsburgh and Matt Canada. Like, you should be chanting "Fire Mike McCarthy" at the games always, even if they're winning 30-0, always. Just like I have 21-20. I have the Chargers coming back and winning it in a really gross game. I don't know why. For some reason, always the primetime games are these weird, just not fun to watch. I haven't been entertained for many of the primetime games. So it's going to be one of those in my mind. I do like the Chargers offense a little bit more, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers like try to pull something weird because they did against the Vikings and they got lucked out. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that I think could go either way, but give me the Chargers coming off the bye with 2 weeks to prepare. But overall, that is going to be everything for us today. We'll have some timestamps down below so you can kind of bounce around, which at the end of the video probably doesn't really matter that I'm saying this now. Aiden, is there anything else you want to add before we get into it?
No, I'm just hoping for a good week.
Perfect. All right. Well, if you stuck around for this long, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll be back with some more videos for you very, very soon. Thank you for watching, guys.